Oh, I don't know how to set this, but Ben, the co-founder of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, was arrested at a Senate hearing after protesting the war in Gaza. All this happened during a Senate hearing in court. Here's a statement he made. This should be a quote. In his words, he said, "The Congress kills kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking American kids off Medicaid." I repeat, the Congress kills kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking American kids off Medicaid. This statement carries a lot of meaning in each word. I don't know if you get it, but you've heard about everything that's been happening, how they deported children. He was roughed up a bit by the police, but he didn't mind because he said what he wanted to say. Yeah, he said what he wanted to say, and Americans have reacted to this incident, and we have compiled for you videos. But before that, tell us what you think about the statement Ben used, and tell us what you think about how the police reacted down in the comments. Yeah, down in the comments.
The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects.
Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
The founder of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, Ben Cohen, was arrested yesterday when he interrupted RFK during his testimony to point out the fact that Congress is bombing poor kids in Gaza and paying for it by removing poor kids in the US off of Medicaid. He was arrested, he was taken out of the courtroom, but he doubled down. And like I mentioned in another video, Ben and Jerry's actually stopped selling their ice cream to the occupied territory of Palestine back in 2021, way before any of this happened. And Ben Cohen actually happens to be of Jewish descent. They were accused of anti-Semitism, but they stood their ground. Really proud of them. Thank you.
Ben from Ben and Jerry ice cream. He actually went protesting in the courts because he stated that Congress is funding Gaza weapons and kicking children off of Medicaid for the money to fund the weapons for Gaza. This is unacceptable. Let's watch the clip.
Ben, why are you getting arrested?
Move down the hallway. If you stop, you will be arrested.
Poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Keep going down. Keep going down the hallway.
They need to let food into Gaza. They need to let food to starving kids.
What did you say in there, man?
I said that Congress is paying to bomb poor kids in Gaza and paying for it by kicking poor kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Don't let them any closer.
Good morning, good morning. So yesterday during RFK Jr.'s hearing, Ben Cohen from one of the co-founders of Ben and Jerry Ice Cream was arrested. He was protesting the genocide that Israel has committed in Gaza. And it really just touched my heart. I mean, they roughed this man up quite a bit, but he didn't care. He stood his ground. But he made a quote that I feel like we should put this on a t-shirt. It wasn't my quote, so I can't steal it. But he said, Congress kill kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pay for it by kicking American kids off of Medicaid. I thought that was just a fantastic quote. Congress kill kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pay for it by kicking American kids off of Medicaid. This is what this man, Ben Cohen, said. He's my new silent hero. I'll be honest with you. He's my new silent hero. If I wasn't on a diet, last night I wanted to buy a whole gallon of freaking cookies and cream, Ben and Jerry's ice cream and eat it, but I was on a diet, so I couldn't do it. But as soon as I drop this weight, I am going to eat myself some, Ben and Jerry's ice cream. But there's silent heroes out there trying to do their thing and push back on this Trump administration and this GOP, what they're doing here and abroad. So, we're just going to keep keep the fight, there's necessary fight, good fight. You guys have a blessed day now. Bye.
No, I really love Half Baked. I love Ben & Jerry's. And today I learned that we have to give it up because the founder of Ben & Jerry's was arrested on the Senate floor. He disrupted a Senate floor hearing to talk about the conditions of children in Gaza. He was apoplectic. Take a look.
The audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
No, Ben & Jerry's founder, Ben Cohen, who is Jewish, said that he objects to the bombing of children in Gaza, and he interrupted a Senate hearing to say so. So when we lose the Jews, that's when it really gets upsetting.
Ben & Jerry's co-founder arrested. Ice cream meets activism on Capitol Hill. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Have You Heard? I'm Bree, and today we're unpacking a story that's grabbing headlines and stirring controversy on Capitol Hill, involving none other than Ben Cohen, the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. On Wednesday, Ben Cohen was arrested during a protest inside the U.S. Senate. What started as a peaceful demonstration quickly turned into a dramatic moment when Cohen was zip-tied and escorted out of the hearing room. The protest was aimed at U.S. military aid to Israel amid the escalating humanitarian crisis in Gaza, a conflict that has led to devastating civilian casualties and sparked global outrage. Cohen and a group of demonstrators disrupted a Senate hearing where Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. was testifying. Their message was clear and urgent. Stop funding violence overseas while neglecting vulnerable people right here at home. As Cohen was being led away by Capitol Police, he shouted a powerful statement that sums up the protest core argument. Congress kills poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking kids off Medicaid in the United States. That moment was captured on video and quickly spread across social media, igniting debate and across political lines. Capitol Police charged Cohen with a misdemeanor, specifically crowding, obstructing, or incommoding, a charge frequently used in civil disobedience cases here in Washington, D.C., but 6 other protesters arrested face more serious charges, including assaulting officers and resisting arrest. Ben Cohen is no stranger to activism. Since founding Ben & Jerry's in 1978 with his partner Jerry Greenfield, the company has taken bold stands on social media and political issues from LGBTQ rights to climate change. Their ice cream has long been a vehicle for social justice messaging. However, Cohen's arrest highlights growing tensions, not just politically, but also within the company's relationship with its corporate owner, Unilever. In 2000, Ben & Jerry's was acquired by Unilever, but with an independent board set up to protect the brand's mission and values. That relationship took a serious hit in 2021 when Ben & Jerry's announced it would stop selling products in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. A move met with backlash from Unilever and sparked legal debates that are still ongoing right now. Just last March, Ben & Jerry's filed a lawsuit accusing Unilever of firing their CEO, David Stever, over disagreements about the company's political activism. Unilever called the firing a confidential personnel matter, but the dispute has exposed sharp divides between corporate profit motives and activist ideals. Unilever responded to Cohen's recent arrest by stating he acted as a private citizen and not on behalf of the company or brand. But many observers wonder, can the company's founders truly separate themselves from the brand they built when they take such public, high-profile actions? Beyond the corporate drama, the protests and arrests highlight deeper questions about U.S. foreign policy and domestic priorities. The Gaza conflict has led to thousands of deaths, many of them civilians, including children. Humanitarian groups warn of a worsening crisis with shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. Meanwhile, the U.S. continues to provide billions in military aid to Israel, fueling intense debate about the role America plays in this conflict. At the same time, Cohen's words call attention to struggles right here at home, like cuts to Medicaid that impact poor and vulnerable Americans right now. So what does this mean for activism, business, and politics moving forward? Ben Cohen's arrest sends a clear message that some are willing to risk legal consequences to demand change. It also raises questions about how far brands and their founders can push political advocacy, especially when owned by global corporations. For listeners, it's a reminder that these issues aren't just distant headlines. They connect to questions about our values, where our money goes, and how we speak up for justice, both locally and globally. I will be continuing to watch this story develop about Ben and Jerry's, and as always, I want to hear from you. What's your take on corporate activism? Can companies truly balance profit and principles? And how do you feel about protests like this one? Let me know in the comments. As always, thanks you for joining me on Have You Heard? I'm Bree. Stay curious, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next episode. And also, eat Ben and Jerry's.
Talk is so crazy because 1 minute I could just be seeing something super funny, and then the next minute I could find out they arrested one of the co-founders of Ben and Jerry's because he's out there talking about how they're bombing kids in Gaza and paying for it by kicking poor kids off of Medicaid in the United States.
The U.S. supporting this genocide is essentially trampling on the soul of America. I grew up thinking that, America stood for justice and equality and fairness. It was defending human rights. What's happening now in Israel in supporting that genocide is that the U.S. is trampling human rights. We're deliberately killing people. It's not a war, it's a slaughter. I don't think there's much difference between somebody getting killed by a bomb or getting killed by being thrown in a gas chamber. What does America stand for? You can't say it stands for justice and peace and human rights. You got to say it stands for ethnic cleansing. It stands for slaughtering innocent people. That hurts.
Well, apparently the news just keeps coming. And yes, you too could get arrested for standing up for human rights, cutting Medicaid while funding bombs. And yes, that too will get you in cuffs. Should we talk about the juxtapose here? You have Wall Street CEOs committing fraud while no arrests, and peaceful protesters that are getting jailed. Power move is that you could put his mugshot next to some others who are standing up for human rights, like Colin Kaepernick or Greta Thunberg or MLK, I guess. What does leadership actually look like is the question that we all should be asking ourselves. Leadership isn't PR, and it's not a well-created LinkedIn post. It's action and disruption, even when it's inconvenient. So if you're upset about how he protested, then why he did it, you might want to check your leadership compass today. And your EQ.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.